Imagine being stranded on a barren planet, millions of miles from home, with nothing but your wits, a few supplies, and your undying will to survive. Sounds intense, right? Well, that's exactly what happens in Andy Weir's mind-blowing novel, The Martian. Today, we're diving into this gripping story about survival, science, and the power of the human spirit. Whether you are a space geek, a book lover, or just someone who enjoys an incredible story, buckle up because we're going on a ride to Mars, and trust me, it's out of this world. Section 1. Setting the stage. Alright, let's start with the basics. The Martian takes us to the not-so-distant future, where humans have mastered the art of interplanetary travel. Our story begins on Mars, during a mission called Ares 3. A crew of 6 astronauts, led by Commander Melissa Lewis, is busy exploring and conducting experiments on the planet's surface. Everything's going smoothly until bam, a massive sandstorm hits out of nowhere. This storm is no joke. It's so intense that the mission has to be aborted, and the crew scrambles to evacuate. In the chaos, Mark Watney, our protagonist, gets hit by debris and is presumed dead. The crew reluctantly leaves Mars, devastated, but believing they've lost their friend. Section 2. Mark Watney, the ultimate survivor. Except, Mark isn't dead. He wakes up to find himself alone on a planet where nothing grows. Here is no breathable air, and rescue is years away literally. But Mark's not the kind of guy to throw in the towel. He's a botanist and an engineer, which means he's got 2 things on his side: brains and a stubborn sense of humor. Mark's first challenge? Figuring out how to stay alive. The habitat, or HAB, designed to support the crew for 31 days, is now his lifeline. But that's only going to last so long. So Mark gets to work using his knowledge and ingenuity. And when I say ingenuity, I mean the guy literally grows potatoes using Martian soil and human waste as fertilizer. Gross? Genius? Yes, absolutely. Section 3. The science of survival. One of the coolest things about The Martian is how it makes science fun. Andy Weir doesn't just throw a bunch of technical jargon at you, he explains things in a way that makes you go, whoa, that's awesome. For example, Mark figures out how to generate water by burning hydrogen and oxygen. Of course, this leads to a near disaster when he almost blows himself up. But hey, live and learn, right? Mark also keeps detailed logs of his day-to-day activities. And these logs are where his personality really shines. His sarcasm, wit, and optimism, in the face of seemingly impossible odds, make him incredibly relatable. You can't help but root for the guy as he faces one challenge after another. Section 4. Earth finds out. Back on Earth, NASA eventually realizes Mark is alive, thanks to satellite images showing changes around the HAB. The news sends shockwaves across the globe. Suddenly, Mark Watney is the most famous man on 2 planets. But fame doesn't mean much when you are still stuck on Mars. NASA swings into action, trying to figure out how to communicate with Mark, and, more importantly, how to bring him home. This leads to some nail-biting moments, including when they establish contact using a rover and a camera. Imagine trying to have a conversation with someone using only a series of still images. Yeah, it's as frustrating as it sounds. Section 5. The rescue plans. Meanwhile, Mark is dealing with his own set of problems, like equipment malfunctions, life-threatening accidents, and the crushing loneliness of being the only human on an entire planet. But he doesn't give up. Every setback is met with determination and creativity. Mark even jokes about his situation, calling himself a space pirate at one point, because technically, he's commandeering NASA property. On Earth, NASA comes up with a plan to resupply Mark using an unmanned probe. Unfortunately, the probe explodes during launch. Cue the heartbreak. But then, China's space agency steps in, offering their rocket to help with a second resupply mission. The collaboration adds a layer of international camaraderie to the story, reminding us what humanity can achieve when we work together. Section 6. The crew's heroic return. Now, here's where things get really intense. Mark's crew, the Ares 3 team, decides they're not going to sit idly by while their friend fights for survival. Against all odds and against NASA's initial orders, they execute a daring plan to slingshot their spaceship back to Mars to rescue him. This sets the stage for one of the most heart-pounding climaxes ever. Mark has to drive a rover to the Ares 4 landing site, modify a rocket to shed unnecessary weight, and launch himself into space to rendezvous with his crew. The entire sequence is packed with tension, humor, and a whole lot of duct tape. Section 7. The Final Showdown. The rescue attempt is a high-stakes operation that has you on the edge of your seat. T here is a moment where it seems like everything is about to go horribly wrong. But in true Mark Watney fashion, he improvised. Using a makeshift bomb to create thrust, yes, you heard that right. He manages to align himself with the space. Commander Lewis, in an epic move, performs a spacewalk to grab Mark and pull him to safety. When Mark finally reunites with his crew, it's an emotional moment that makes all the hardships. The story ends with Mark back on Earth, sharing his experiences and inspiring others with his resilience and ingenuity. Conclusion. Why this story matters. So, what makes The Martian such an unforgettable read? It's not just the thrilling plot or the fascinating science seats, the way Andy Weir captures the indomitable human spirit. Mark Watney's story reminds us that even in the face of impossible odds, we can survive, adapt, and thrive with a little creativity and a lot of determination. It's a story about hope, teamwork, and the extraordinary power of the human mind. Whether you are into science fiction, survival stories, or just love a good laugh, The Martian has something for everyone. So, if you haven't read it yet, what are you waiting for? And if you have, let me know your favorite part in the comments below. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars literally or figuratively. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more awesome book summaries. See you in the next video.